While buyers fight over crossovers and sedans, the serious bargains are sitting ignored in the cheap row. They have hatches. These cars haul groceries, tools, luggage, and real life, while saving fuel and repairs every single month. Dealers won't push them because there is no payment story. Stick around because number 1 makes small crossovers look wasteful on used lots. Number 8, 2006 to 2011 Kia Rio 5. Here is the little hatchback buyers ignore because the badge feels cheap, and that is exactly why the price stays friendly. The Kia Rio 5 does not look tough like a small SUV, and it does not look mature like a Corolla sedan, so most shoppers walk past it before they even open the hatch. That is a mistake when the budget is tight. The Rio 5 is not a luxury car, not a highway cruiser, and not something you buy to impress the neighbor. It is a basic tool with a real hatch, low weight, and simple parts. We have seen these cars used by delivery workers, students, and older owners who just need something that starts every morning and carries more than a sedan trunk should. Cargo is the secret. You get about 15.8 cubic feet behind the rear seat and around 49.6 cubic feet when the rear seat folds down. That means laundry baskets, tool bags, small shelves, dorm boxes, folding chairs, and grocery runs are not a problem. Try sliding that same load through a tiny sedan trunk opening, and you will understand why hatchbacks are smarter. Current prices usually sit safely under $8,000. Clean, older Rio 5 examples often land around $3,500 to $7,000, depending on miles, rust, and how honest the maintenance story looks. The mechanical reason it can last is not magic. The 1.6-liter four-cylinder is simple and easy to understand, but the timing belt is the whole deal. If the belt is ignored, that cheaper car can turn costly. If the belt, water pump, coolant, belts, and hoses were handled, the car can keep doing boring daily work for a long time. Ask for timing belt proof before you care about the radio or paint. No proof means you budget the job immediately. Check oil leaks, idle quality, rust underneath, and front-end clunks too, because tiny cars get neglected hard. Replace the timing belt and water pump together, then keep oil changes steady and coolant fresh. Choose this car when your budget is tight. You need the absolute lowest price hatchback here, and you care more about transportation than style. One more thing, do not let a shiny detail job distract you. On a Rio this old, tires, brakes, timing belt proof, and clean coolant matter more than wax. If the seller acts annoyed by those questions, that tells you the ownership story is weak. A cheap hatchback only works when the boring stuff is handled. Insurance can also stay calmer with these little cars because values are lower, power is modest, and replacement parts are not exotic. That is not a guarantee in every zip code, but the pattern helps a buyer who wants smaller monthly damage. Next is the tiny Toyota that looks too small until you realize how little it costs to keep alive. Number 7, 2007 to 2011 Toyota Yaris liftback. Small cars get laughed at in America, but this Yaris is the kind of reliable little machine that proves pride can be expensive. Buyers walk past it because it looks tiny next to a Corolla sedan and almost toy-like beside a used RAV4. Some guys look at the short nose, tall roof, and narrow body and think it is not a real car for daily life. That is dealer lot thinking, not garage thinking. The Yaris liftback is not here because it hauls plywood or wins comfort awards. It is here because it parks anywhere, sips fuel, and keeps repair bills calmer than most used SUVs with twice the miles. The cargo room behind the seat is only around 9.3 cubic feet, so we are not going to pretend it is a cargo king. But fold the rear seat, use the tall hatch opening, and suddenly it handles grocery bags, backpacks, pet carriers, small tool kits, compact luggage, and weekend errands better than a small sedan with a narrow trunk. It is the kind of car you buy when you want simple transportation, not drama. Current used prices are usually under $8,000, with many 2008 examples around $4,000 to $7,000 when the condition is fair, and miles are normal for the age. The mechanical reason it lasts is the little 1.5-liter Toyota four-cylinder. It is not strong, but it is low stress. The car is light, the engine is modest, and the automatic or manual setups are basic. Nothing is trying to pull a trailer, push huge wheels, or feed a turbo. That matters. Light cars are easier on brakes, tires, suspension, and fuel. Look for crash repairs, oil leaks, worn front suspension, uneven tire wear, and cheap bumper fixes. These cars get curbed, tapped, and parked by people who treat them like appliances. Keep oil changes, coolant clean, tires rotated, and front suspension tight. Do not let cheap maintenance turn a Toyota into a problem. Choose this car when you want the cheapest Toyota hatchback that parks anywhere, drinks fuel slowly, and stays simple for commuting. For a buyer who drives mostly city miles, this thing makes real sense. Short wheelbase, skinny tires, and a smaller engine mean parking lots, tight streets, and daily errands stay easy. You are not buying road trip luxury. You are buying a reliable little tool that keeps your wallet from bleeding. The next hatchback is Toyota Connected 2, but it gives more personality, more room, and a badge most shoppers forgot. Number 6. 2008 to 2011. Scion XD. The Scion badge confuses people, and that confusion is where smart buyers find value. Most shoppers do not even search Scion anymore. They search Corolla because the name feels safe, or they stretch into a used small SUV because the seat sits higher. The XD gets trapped between those two groups. It looks too funky for sedan buyers, too small for crossover buyers, and too forgotten for people who only shop by badge. Underneath, though, this is the kind of Toyota-adjacent hatchback that makes sense when Corolla prices get silly. The cabin is not fancy, but the shape is practical. You get about 10.5 cubic feet behind the rear seats and roughly 35.7 cubic feet with the seats folded. That means grocery runs, tool bags, small luggage, camera gear, pet crates, and apartment loads are easier than they look from the outside. It is not as clever as a Honda Fit, but it is still far more useful than a cheap sedan trunk. Current prices usually sit under $8,000, and many good 2008 to 2011 XD examples show up around $4,000 to $8,000 depending on miles and condition. The mechanical reason it survives is simple Toyota-style hardware. The 1.8-liter four-cylinder is not exciting, but it is low stress, and the conventional transmission choices keep ownership predictable. That is exactly what we want in a cheap car. Do not confuse cheap with careless. A hatchback can be a great buy, but only when fluids, tires, brakes, and cooling history match the story. If the seller has excuses instead of receipts, the deal is already getting risky. In the shop, these usually do not scare anybody. We check normal wear items, not some exotic failure that only one dealer can diagnose. Listen for engine mount vibration, front suspension clunks, oil seepage, hatch leaks, and rough shifting. Also, fold the rear seats and make sure the hardware works, because people use these like little moving vans and then pretend they barely carried anything. Keep oil clean, service transmission fluid, watch coolant, and fix leaks before heat makes damage. Choose this car when you want Toyota-adjacent durability. But Corolla sellers are asking too much money, and you still want a hatch that feels a little more grown up. If this kind of reliable, cheap car thinking helps, subscribe. We check body style, engine, cargo space, and repair risk before you buy. The XD also has a tougher personality than people expect. It feels more planted than a tiny economy box, and the cabin has enough height that older drivers do not feel folded in half. That matters when the buyer wants simple daily use, without crawling into a low sedan. Next is the fuel mileage play, and it is ugly in exactly the right way. Number 5. 2014 to 2017 Mitsubishi Mirage hatchback. Everybody makes jokes about the Mirage, but gas pumps do not care about pride, and repair bills do not care about image. This is the hatchback buyer's skip because it feels narrow, slow, and basic. Sedan buyers think it feels too cheap. SUV buyers think it is too small to matter. Even hatchback shoppers sometimes walk past it because the cabin feels lightweight and the engine sounds busy. That weak reputation is why prices stay low. The Mirage is not trying to be sporty, plush, or quiet like a larger car. It is trying to move you for less money, and for the right buyer, that is the whole point. Cargo space is better than the outside shape suggests. You get around 17.2 cubic feet behind the rear seat, and the hatch opening makes grocery bags, backpacks, folding chairs, duffel bags, and small luggage easy to load. It will not replace a crossover, but it beats a tiny sedan trunk when real life shows up. We have seen people use these for daily work bags, small delivery routes, airport parking, and long grocery runs, where fuel savings matter more than comfort. That is where the Mirage makes sense. It is not exciting, but it is honest. And honest, cheap cars are getting harder to find. Current prices are usually under $8,000 for earlier examples. A 2014 to 2017 Mirage hatch often lands around $4,500 to $8,000, depending on mileage, trim, transmission, and how badly the previous owner treated it. The mechanical reason it can outlast more expensive alternatives is the simple 1.2-liter 3-cylinder, especially when paired with the manual transmission. It is light, fuel-focused, and not trying to haul around a heavy body. The Mirage also uses a timing chain, not a timing belt, which helps keep routine ownership cheaper. Fuel economy is the real win. Many were rated around the high 30s to low 40s in miles per gallon, depending on transmission, so this car can save money every single week. Check clutch feel on manuals, idle vibration, suspension noise, tire wear, and accident history. Because the body is light, poor repairs show quickly. Use the correct oil, keep spark plugs fresh, service coolant, and do not ignore small suspension clunks. Choose this car when fuel cost matters more than speed, comfort, or image. The honest downside is road noise and speed. If you expect silent highway comfort, you will hate it. If you expect cheap tires, cheap fuel, and easy parking, it starts making sense. That is the whole Mirage lesson. Buy it for savings, not status. The next hatchback is bigger inside than it looks, but you need discipline because one wrong transmission choice changes the story. Number 4. 2007 to 2011 Nissan Versa Hatchback 1.8S. Do not throw this Versa into the same bucket as every troubled Nissan story, because the right hatchback version is a roomy, cheaper little tool. The market overlooks it for a few reasons. The Nissan badge scares buyers now because people hear transmission stories. Sedan shoppers skip the hatch because it looks a little odd. SUV shoppers ignore it because it does not sit tall. That leaves the right Versa hatch sitting cheap, and that is where we pay attention. The rule is strict. We want the 1.8S hatchback with the 6-speed manual or the 4-speed automatic. We do not guess. Some higher trim cars use different transmission setups, and we are not buying confusion. The simple transmission versions are the ones that make sense. Cargo space is the big surprise. The Versa hatch gives about 17.8 cubic feet behind the rear seat and up to around 50.4 cubic feet with the seat folded. The floor is not as magical as a Honda Fit, but the space is huge for the footprint. A couple of suitcases, grocery bags, work equipment, laundry baskets, or a small cabinet can fit better than people expect. Current prices are usually under $8,000, with many 2007 to 2011 Versa hatchbacks landing around $3,000 to $7,000 if the condition is normal. The mechanical reason this one works is the 1.8-liter engine with a manual or 4-speed automatic. It avoids the later cheap Nissan CVT headache and gives you a normal commuter setup. It is not quick, but it is honest. Compared with a used compact SUV, the Versa weighs less, uses less fuel, and usually costs less to repair. Compared with a sedan, the hatch is just more useful. Confirm the transmission by shifter, records, and VIN details. Do not let a seller wave it off. Then check motor mounts, front suspension, hatch seals, rust, and automatic shift quality if equipped. Change automatic transmission fluid, keep coolant clean, and replace worn mounts before vibration makes the whole car feel junky. Choose this car when you want the roomiest cheap hatchback here, but you are disciplined enough to avoid the wrong transmission. This is also the hatchback for people who carry passengers often. Rear seat space is better than the outside shape suggests, and the doors open wide enough that daily use feels normal. That is why the Versa hatch can make an old compact SUV look overpriced and tired. The next one is for the driver who wants cheap transportation that still feels alive. Number 3. 2011 to 2014 Mazda 2. Some cheap cars feel like punishment, but the Mazda 2 reminds you that lightweight can still feel fun. Buyers overlook it because it is small, and in America, small often gets mistaken for weak. Sedan buyers think it is too tiny for a grown man. SUV buyers never even consider it. Honda Fit shoppers skip it because the cargo numbers are smaller. That keeps the price softer, and that is why it belongs on this list. We have driven these enough to know the win is not maximum hauling. The win is steering feel, low weight, and simple mechanicals. Cargo space is honest, not massive. You get around 13.3 cubic feet behind the rear seat and about 27.8 cubic feet folded. The rear seats do not turn it into a moving van, and the floor is not perfectly flat, So do not buy it expecting Honda Fit tricks. Buy it because you want a cheap hatchback that can still take a curving road without feeling dead. It can handle groceries, backpacks, small luggage, gym bags, and a weekend trip for 1 or 2 people. Current prices can stay under $8,000 if you shop patiently, with many 2011 to 2014 examples around $5,000 to $8,000, depending on miles, title history, and transmission. The mechanical reason it lasts is the simple 1.5-liter 4-cylinder in a light body, especially with the 5-speed manual. Less weight means the brakes, tires, clutch, and suspension do not get punished as they do on a heavier crossover. This car does not need big power because it is not dragging around extra bulk. Check clutch feel, front suspension noise, tire wear, curbed wheels, and bumper repairs. City cars take a beating from potholes, parking blocks, and careless owners. Keep manual transmission fluid fresh, rotate tires, replace worn bushings, and do not let cheap rubber ruin the way the car drives. Choose this car when you want the sharpest cheap hatchback on the list, and you do not need huge cargo room. If practical buying advice like this helps, subscribe. We look for cheaper cars with simple parts, not shiny payments and badge pressure. This is the car I would tell a younger driver to buy if they want to learn real car control without getting into a fast, risky machine. It rewards smooth driving, not big power. That makes it fun, but still cheap enough to keep realistic. The next hatchback is not as playful, but it gives a lot more space for the money. Number 2. 2012 to 2015 Hyundai Accent hatchback. Plain-looking cars sometimes hide the best value, and the Accent hatchback is a perfect example. Most cheap car shoppers compare Civic, Corolla, Camry, and Accord sedans because those names feel safe. Families with tight budgets stretch into worn-out SUVs because they think height equals practicality. The Accent hatch gets skipped because the badge feels cheaper and the shape looks basic. That is exactly why smart buyers should check it. The hatchback layout makes it a sneaky cargo tool. You get about 21.2 cubic feet behind the rear seat and around 47.5 cubic feet with the seats folded. That is real space. Grocery runs, small appliances, work bags, camping bins, luggage, and college move-in loads become easier than they would be in many sedans. It is not just about cubic feet either. The hatch opening lets you load taller, awkward stuff without fighting a trunk lid. We have seen these carry folding tables, boxed fans, small chairs, and weekend luggage without acting like a tiny car. That is the trick. You buy it for cheaper daily driving. Then realize the hatch saves you from borrowing a crossover for half your errands. Current used prices usually fit the under $8,000 rule, with many 2012 to 2015 Accent hatches sitting around $5,000 to $8,000, depending on mileage, trim, and condition. The mechanical reason it can outlast more expensive alternatives is simple math. The 1.6-liter 4-cylinder sits in a light car, parts are common, and the repairs are usually normal economy car work. The key is oil care. A neglected small engine can still become expensive, but a clean one can be cheaper to keep alive than an old crossover carrying twice the weight. Compared with a compact SUV, the Accent uses less fuel, wears out tires more slowly, and gives more cargo usefulness than its size suggests. Listen for cold start knock, check oil level, inspect records, look for front-end clunks, test the hatch seals, and check the underside if you live where roads get salted. Use the correct oil, shorten oil change intervals on higher mileage cars, service coolant, and do not ignore belts, plugs, or weak batteries. Choose this car when you need the most cargo space for the least money, and you do not care if the badge impresses anybody. The Accent is not perfect, and we do not pretend it is. Interior plastics feel hard, road noise can be loud, and neglected examples age quickly. But if the records are clean and the engine sounds healthy and cold, the cargo room per dollar is hard to beat. Number 1 is the hatchback everybody should understand by now, because it turns tiny outside space into shocking inside usefulness. Number 1, 2007 to 2008 Honda Fit. Here's the hatchback that makes sedans look silly, and it earns number 1 because it proves this whole list. Some buyers skip the Fit because it looks small. Others think it is too old, too plain, or too much like a college kid's car. SUV buyers rarely cross-shop it because they assume small outside means useless inside. That assumption is wrong. The Fit is the exact kind of car this channel stands for. Small outside, useful inside, simple underneath, and cheap enough that you do not need a giant payment to own something practical. Cargo utility is the magic trick. The 2007 to 2008 Fit gives about 21.3 cubic feet behind the rear seat, and the folded space can be measured differently depending on the method. But the real story is the magic seat. The rear seat bottom flips up, the seat backs fold down, and the car carries tall or awkward items in ways normal sedans cannot touch. Bicycles with a wheel removed, tall plants, boxes, camera gear, tool bags, pet crates, and weekend luggage all fit better than the outside size suggests. Current prices usually stay under $8,000 for clean early cars, with many 2007 and 2008 examples around $4,500 to $7,500, depending on miles, rust, and records. The mechanical reason it lasts is the simple 1.5-liter Honda 4-cylinder, low curb weight, and conventional manual or automatic transmission choices. It is not fast, but it is built for steady miles. In the shop, the best fits usually have the same story. Oil changes were done, fluids were not ignored, and nobody tried to turn it into a fake race car. Compared with a small SUV, the Fit uses less fuel, costs less to maintain, and still carries real life. Compared with a sedan, it is easier to load, easier to park, and more flexible inside. Check rear hatch leaks, water in the spare tire well, worn suspension, clutch feel on manuals, AC performance, and service records. Also, look at the rear seat hardware, because that magic seat is the whole reason the car is special. Keep valve adjustments, spark plugs, transmission fluid, coolant, and suspension bushings on schedule. Do that, and the Fit can feel stable for years. Choose this car when you want the most useful cheap hatchback here, and you need one car that can commute, haul, park easily, and stay reliable. The Fit also wins because owners keep discovering uses for it after they buy it. One day, it is a commuter. The next day, it is carrying a bicycle, a small dresser, or a week of camping gear. That flexible shape is why people who understand Fits usually keep them. This is number one because it proves hatchbacks are not compromises. The right hatchback can be cheaper than an SUV, more useful than a sedan, and easier to keep alive than both. Subscribe for reliable cheap car picks, simple inspection checks, and buyer rules that save money before a bad deal follows you home. Buyer cheat sheet. If you only need an image, buy the SUV and pay for it. One more reason hatchbacks sit ignored is ego. A man will overpay for a tired crossover because it looks tougher, then complain about fuel, tires, and repairs. That is backwards. Practical wins when the bank account matters. If you need useful, cheaper transportation, shop hatchbacks first. Kia Rio 5 is the lowest price play. Yaris is the tiny Toyota beater. Scion XD, it is the Toyota adjacent sleeper. Mirage is the fuel saver. Versa hatch is a big inside cheap car, but only with the right transmission. Mazda 2 is the driver's pick. Accent hatch is the cargo per dollar winner. Fit is the best all-around tool. Do not let a salesman talk you into a size you do not need. Extra weight means extra tires, brakes, fuel, and repairs. A good hatchback is smaller outside, smarter inside, and usually cheaper to keep. Fold the seats, inspect the records, check for leaks, drive it warm, and buy the car that solves your real life, not your neighbor's opinion. That is boring advice, but boring advice is usually what saves the most money. Pride gets expensive. Practical buying stays cheaper and calmer today. Click the next video before you shop. Some tiny hatchbacks are smarter than SUVs that people overpay for.